Winston-Salem has held a lot of witching hours for the NC State Wolfpack over the last 2 decades. What will be in store on Thursday night?
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Wednesday show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control over your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's Monarch like the butterfly, money like the money. monarchmoney.com using code LOCKEDONCollege, 50% off of your first year. Happy Wednesday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, we now turn the page. We are on to Wake Forest, week 3 of the college football season for the NC State Wolfpack. This will also mark the beginning of ACC play because remember, UVA was a non-conference game. It is also the first road game of the season for the NC State Wolfpack, taking our show on the road out to Winston-Salem, which is a place we've talked about in episodes past. For whatever reason, there's a dark magic every time the NC State Wolfpack come to town. But I will begin this episode telling you now, NC State's going to win this football game.
Well, that's a bold proclamation, Grayson. That's a bold proclamation. I want to have that same amount of faith. I feel good about the Wolfpack right now. I really do. I feel good about the Wolfpack's chances in this one. I feel like we're the better team. I feel like Dickert, this is not – I just think he made a mistake. I really do think he made a mistake leaving Washington State for Winston-Salem because I think that that's a school that you got to have a certain temperament to coach at. You have to – Clawson was not just like a personification of Wake Forest. He was the personification of Wake Forest football. Very even keel, very steady, very much so, hey, it's a process, it's a process, it's a process. We're not – every year is not going to be great here, and I'm not sure if Dickert has that in him as a head coach. With that being said, in terms of this year's iteration of Wake Forest, they have some players to be afraid of, but I wouldn't say this is one of the better Wake Forest teams that we've seen in the past few years. The only problem is NC State has lost to some Wake Forest teams that weren't the best Wake Forest teams that we've seen in the past few years. So, it's kind of up in the air in that way.
I think I speak for most when I say that Wake Forest is the school that has produced the most PTSD in my young Wolfpack life here. So I'm tired of these guys. I'm tired of losing to them at home. I'm tired of losing to them on the road. I'm tired of them ruining so many seasons. And not even just in football. It's like seemingly everything. Well, not so much in basketball lately, but you get the point. NC State is the better team in this matchup. We have the better quarterback. We have the better offense. We have the better defense, even though many of you may doubt that right now. And in this matchup as well, we have the better head coach. Their new head coach, this is a new era of Wake Forest football. It is Jake Dickert, joining Wake Forest from Washington State, where he spent the last 5 seasons. There is no more Dave Clawson, so the bad man is gone as well. Dave Clawson has now stepped back to a supervisional role, so he's no longer the head coach. In comes Jake Dickert. The man knows talent because the last couple seasons at Washington State, he produced both Cam Ward, who went number 1 overall in the last NFL draft, and most recently John Mateer, who may or may not be one of the Heisman favorites this season at Oklahoma. So the man has an eye for talent. Now he's in Winston-Salem. So far this season, Wake is 2-0, but they've had 2 cupcake victories, if you will. They opened the season with a 10-9 victory over Kennesaw State. I feel like I'm obliged to tell you this. Kennesaw State was one of the worst teams in college football at the Division I level last year. Wake Forest eked out a 1-point win. However, I should tell you, Damon Claiborne only played minimally in that game due to injury. The following week against Western Carolina, they beat them 42-10. Damon Claiborne is the reigning ACC running back of the week. 10 carries, 193 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So believe us when we tell you their offense is centered around number 1. This is going to sound like a total slap in the face based on everything I just said, but he does not have one of those talents at quarterback this year. Their quarterback, that's a wild ricochet. I apologize. Actually, you know what? I don't apologize. The quarterback is Robbie Ashford. Now, Robbie Ashford has bounced around so far in his college career, spent some time with Auburn, spent some time with South Carolina, now ends up here for the Winston-Salem Demon Deacons. He's been pretty inconsistent over the course of his young career, which is probably why he's bounced around so often. I would consider him a dual threat quarterback. He can run and, in fact, has been one of their most efficient runners so far this season. Passing-wise, though, I think that's where NC State has a leg up here. He's very unproven as a passer, even though he's been in college football for about 5 years. Just inconsistent in the short throws, the intermediate throws, and the long throws. So I think NC State really has to get in the backfield and cause some havoc there. But Kenton, I'll tee you up for this next point. The Wake Forest offense begins, middles, and ends with number one, the running back,
DeMond Claiborne is absolutely the dude for this offense. And I'll tell you what, he scares the daylights out of me because as we saw last year, all he needs is a little crease. All he needs is a little crease. And all of a sudden, he will reappear on the other side of that thing. And next thing you know, they're striking up the band. The offense begins and ends with the two guys that have number one, and he's the main one. He is the main guy that you look at and you're like, oh, he's a freak. How did Wake Forest even keep him? Which is very seriously a legitimate question, because what did Wake Forest do to keep this young man? He talked about it at ACC Media Days and talked about the value of a Wake Forest education and how much he loves that place. He must really love that place, okay? Because we saw what happened with Kenneth Walker when he left and all of a sudden became one of the hottest running backs in the nation. And I saw a similar thing happening with Claiborne with Clausen's retirement, but he stuck around. And the only player that they have that should even give you any concern, give you any type of thought in their passing game is a freshman receiver by the name of Chris Barnes. He is a little guy, but he can absolutely go. Grayson talked about the bad man can't hurt you anymore. A.T. Perry is gone. No more big 6'4", 6'5" guys on the outside that can dunk on everybody. They don't have that anymore. That ain't walking through that door for them. However, this little speedster, this little gadget guy, this little guy that can do a little bit of everything in terms of Chris Barnes, I'm telling you right now, if you lose track of him, he will be running past your defensive backs and having a good old time in the end zone. He wears number 10 as Claiborne wears number 1, and that's why I said that those two guys, if you see either one of the guys wearing one doing good things, it's going to be a problem for you. You're definitely not going to want to see that. They got that type of speed that if you don't stay in front of them and get them early, they're gone. I don't expect Coach Elliott to play as much off in soft coverage as we've seen before, because even with Barnes' speed, the way to disrupt a short a short guy that has that type of speed, that's super explosive, throw off the timing. Make Robbie hold the ball. Make him think. Make him make a decision over time. But if you give that soft coverage and you let Barnes get the ball in his hands underneath, you could be in for a long day.
Robbie Ashford, DeMond Claiborne, and Chris Barnes, those are the three names to know for the Wake Forest offense. And so if I'm DJ Elliott and I'm the NC State defense, sell out to stop the run in DeMond Claiborne. I have enough confidence in the rest of our defense, including the secondary that has struggled a bit. I have enough confidence that they can stop Robbie Ashford through the air. I think he's too erratic to beat us on a consistent basis for 4 quarters. You have to stop DeMond Claiborne. That connects to our conversation from yesterday. Execute the tackle on 3rd and long, please, or 4th and short, please, or how about any down in this game, please? Because DeMond Claiborne, the way that he beats you, explosives. He will beat you with a 65-yard run or an 83-yard run. And sadly, that's been pretty much the Achilles heel of the NC State defense up to this point. You have got to eliminate it in this game. They're in a rebuild year. It's the first year of a new head coach. They have a lot of talent. They don't really know what they have quite yet. Everyone that grew up with their brother, or maybe you are the oldest brother, you know what I'm about to tell you. You know when a younger sibling is building like something with a bunch of Legos, you get that evil internal thought that you just can't help. And you go over and act like Godzilla and you kick over all the Legos and they have to restart. That's what NC State needs to do on Thursday night. They're trying to rebuild. You make them restart. Think about what happened when they were in Raleigh last year. They knocked out Grayson McCall. Still don't know how that wasn't targeting, but I'll leave that for another time. The entire trajectory of our season altered at that moment. CJ Bailey, this became his team when we played Wake Forest last year. We owe them something. We owe them a little something this time in their house. Go to their house, kick over their Legos, and make them restart. That is the objective for NC State on Thursday night.
If any of y'all are big brothers like Grayson, go see a therapist. That is not okay. What is going on here?
Again, y'all know what I'm talking about. Come on.
I'm the youngest of four, so I, in fact, do not know what you're talking about. I have no clue.
You were the Wake Forest in this equation.
Hey, watch him out. Watch him out. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. But no, in all seriousness, I get what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. Listen, they did end Grayson McCall's career. Not just his career at NC State, his career in terms of football, over. He never played another down after that hit. I mean, I'm not saying Grayson McCall would have gone on to become an NC State legend or anything like that, but you do owe guys something. You do owe guys something. I'm a big believer in that get back is a mother lover. And it's time to get your get back. It's time to get your lick back, NC State. It's time to, kind of show up and show out, because this is a team that I don't see a reason why you shouldn't lay the lumber to them. I don't see a reason why you shouldn't. I don't see anything about this team. If you had to tell me outside of Claiborne and Barnes, what do they do particularly well, I would be stumped. I would legitimately sit here and look at you like, I will say this, their defense has looked phenomenal so far. Against two offenses one of them is an FCS offense. One of them was an FCS offense literally 730 days ago. But their defense has looked good. So who knows? Although I know offense is Digger's calling card, who knows? And I'll just leave it at that. But this is a game, NC State, leave no doubt. Come out early, make it clear.
Coming up next, we're going to dive into the details of the Wake Forest defense and how NC State can take advantage on that front. More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Wednesday sponsor is Mazda. You can just move through life, or you can find things that move you. It's your choice. You can choose to get out there, choose your people. You can choose to go for it, like really go for it. Just choose to do something that moves you. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than just simply move. Mazda, move and be moved. Our second Wednesday sponsor is DoorDash. It's almost time for the weekend, which means it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on who delivered. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered the most. Let's break it down. For the NC State Wolfpack last Saturday, Hollywood Smothers delivered 17 carries, 140 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns en route to an NC State 35-31 victory over the UVA Cavaliers. Hollywood came through. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, this performance was not a fluke. And just like Hollywood delivered for the Wolfpack, DoorDash delivers for your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you can save every Saturday that you order. You can stack it up all season long, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Keep the streak alive and order this Saturday. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply, and the promo period is from now until November the 18th. Middle portion of our Wednesday show, diving right back into detailing the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Already spent some time with their offense, now switching gears and touching on their defense. Kenton did highlight to you, so far this season, they have looked good. Now, again, that was against Kennesaw State and against Western Carolina. They gave up only 9 points to Kennesaw State, just 10 points to Western Carolina. So they have done what they needed to do. They've been able to force a good deal of turnovers so far, but I think you should also maybe take that with a small grain of salt as well. They don't bring back a ton of defensive starters because, as you see oftentimes with a coach moving on, the transfer portal will really hit them hard there. However, Nick Anderson, who's a defensive back, and linebacker Dylan Hazen are the top two names to know for the Wake Forest defense. They're very tenured in that defense. I believe they've both been there at least 3 to 4 years each. So they know what it takes to beat NC State, as they legitimately did it just a year ago. But Kenton, how do you see ways that NC State can attack this Wake Forest defense?
Yeah, so in terms of ways to attack this Wake Forest defense, their Achilles heel is what you're really good at. they don't have the DBs with foot speed to keep up. They don't have the type of DBs that are going to be able to shut down our receiving core and Justin Jolie and Hollywood Smothers over a long period of time. So I would say this is a game, let that thing fly as always. And the other thing about it, Anderson is a hitter. That young man,
Yes.
he's a thumper. He has he former walk-on, went to special teams demon, earned his way on the field. How do y'all think a special teams demon earns his way onto the field, ladies and gentlemen? By running hard and hitting people. Okay? So you don't want to throw any hospital balls around that guy, or he's going to send one of your guys to the medical tent. But with that being said, again, they don't have a ton that scares me. You talked about two of the main guys. I would probably say the main guy in their front four is Langston Hardy. I mean, he's a guy that he was a game wrecker last game against Western Carolina. 2.5 sacks that game. 2.5. Now, granted, I want to make one thing clear. He was definitely playing against some accountants last game. I don't think there was no Jacarius Peak walking through that door. Teague Anderson, this is your get right week, brother. You need to kind of right the ship a little bit after some of the things that we saw in game one that were, a little bit rough. Week 2, it was a much better showing from him. Week 3, I want to say solidify yourself as a fellow bookend on the opposite side of Jacarius Peak. Solidify yourself as, hey, I'm a fellow player that is formidable, that is to be taken serious, that my week in, week out is this. That week 1 was the exception. That, those penalties and all that was the exception. This is who I am. This is a game where T can absolutely solidify himself there. But, this is a game. Again, they got some guys. They got some dudes. Hardy is a really great athlete. He's a taller, thinner guy. He can move very well. He's listed at 6'4", 250. I think that 250 is generous. I think he might have had a couple Boatberry biscuits in his pocket when they weighed him that day. But he is a guy that is very effective in terms of his lateral movement when working those quick moves in terms of his arm over, rip move, or anything like that. So he is a guy that you have to account for. You have to make sure it's taken care of, and I think we have the tackles to do it.
Kenton alluded to the main umbrella point extremely well here. NC State has the better athletes on both sides of the ball. Wake Forest has not seen yet a defensive line like ours. They've not seen an offensive line like ours. The push that we get on both sides of the line here, that's going to immediately dictate how quickly NC State can take control of this game. However, if you play around with it, Wake Forest is just like any other team. You let them stay in the game, they'll figure out how to beat you. So for NC State, just like the other two games so far, you got to come out with that intensity. This game is on the road and presents a slightly different challenge in that way, but the objective is the same, to move men against their will. The NC State offensive line had their best performance so far in game 2. I want to see them take it up another notch here in game 3. Play bully ball up front. Clear the lanes for Hollywood Smothers and CJ Bailey and possibly Duke Scott. And then as far as the Wake Forest secondary goes, this is a game that I think NC State can air it out with a pretty good deal of success. This is the type of game where you let Noah Rogers run free, Wesley Grimes run free, Justin Jolie run free, Terrell Anderson, Keenan Jackson fill in the blank. There's so much uncertainty in the back half of Wake Forest defense in the secondary. This is the game where you really see them open it up through the air if you're the NC State Wolfpack.
We're the better team on paper. It's time to go out there and show it. The reality of this team and the reality of this game, I believe the reality of this game is very similar to the first two. It's not about the opponent. It's about you. It's about how you execute what you do. We saw against ECU when we wanted to, when we played with tempo and we took our shots, we got up 17-0 like it was nothing. Like a hot knife through butter. That is how we moved the ball when we wanted to, when things were needed. And then against UVA, every time we got down, every time we were trailing, oh, look, what was that? A 5-play scoring drive. But every time we got the lead, all of a sudden things ground to a halt. It's not to say that this NC State team is world beaters and we can do whatever we want, whenever we want. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is you are the better team in this game. You need to go out there and show it. You need to make it clear from the jump, we are the better team. Because as we saw with both UVA and ECU, when you let that confidence build, when you leave teams in the game, what happens? They get better. They get better. They're right there. As opposed to when you went up 17-0, you call a timeout when you've got guys running off the field and they're clearly over the ball. What happens with that game when you make them earn it? What happens? But all it took was that one touchdown, and boom, they're out the gates. UVA, you get them to a 4th and 1. Elliott dials up the perfect stunt. You can't really call anything better in terms of your defensive line that is same side as the back, pinching, and them running inside zone. That is the perfect call against what they did. You get 3 points of pressure to the ball. None of them make it. What do you think happens from that play? What do you think they're saying on their sideline? Now we're leading 7-0 after our first drive because they had 3 guys to the ball and couldn't get a stop on 4th and 1. And again, that has nothing to do with UVA has some type of super back. If that back, with all due respect to that young man, and he tore us up. So let me not say that he's trash or he's terrible, anything like that. He started his career at North Carolina Central. We're not looking at a Claiborne walking through that door, and we could not make a tackle with 3 players. So this game is about how you execute, how you do the little things that you ought to do.
You said that well, because if you look back a year ago, we were saying all the same things in 2024. We said NC State has a superior team. It's a game you can't lose. You go out and exert your will, and you should get the result you want. And then we lost 34-30. This game is not about Wake Forest. It's about NC State playing NC State football. Because if you do that, it will be enough. If you don't commit penalties, if you do execute your run blocking, your pass blocking, your route running, all of that, it will be enough. NC State has more talent, just purely as objective as I can tell you, they do. They have more talent on both sides of the ball. Go out and prove as such on Thursday night. Coming up next, we're getting into a Wednesday mailbag. Haven't done one in a hot minute, so figure we need to get into that. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our third Wednesday sponsor is FanDuel. The NFL season is now here, and FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if that $5 bet wins, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets guaranteed. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, it's easy, it's simply the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com in order to get started. That's FanDuel.com in order to place your first $5 bet today, and if it wins, $300 back in bonus bets guaranteed. Head on over to FanDuel.com in order to get started today. And our fourth Wednesday sponsor is Monarch Money. Most people can't even name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth. Whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments, when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That is why Monarch Money exists. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface. Monarch is built for the people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is quite literally for you. Monarch does all the heavy lifting. You can link your accounts in just minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending. Now you can finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off of your first year. That's Monarch like the butterfly, money like the money, monarchmoney.com using code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for 50% off of your first year, only at monarchmoney.com. Last couple minutes of our Wednesday show. Now time for some Wednesday mailbag, getting into some of our top comments of the last couple days. Here we go. First one comes from Harley the Elder Beagle. They say, I'd like to see some new linebackers rotate in. I feel like some guys have big problems getting off blocks and getting downhill. Kenton, what's been your gauge so far on the NC State linebacker play?
I'm not even an animal person, but good doggo, Harley. Good doggo. The reality is, I have not, my thought was we're in a similar spot to last year in terms of we have talent at the top, but everybody behind that, it gets a little dicey. I was wrong. Even our top guys, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it right now. I'm not seeing effective linebacker play. I'm not seeing guys making big plays when big plays are there to be made. With all due respect, we talked about the Locked On Look of the Week where we had 3 guys, which technically might have been 4, depending on the angle you were looking at, but 3 guys missed a tackle, 2 of them being our linebackers that are off the ball in the middle of the defense in Sean Brown and Caden Fordham. I need to see more. I need to see more because at the end of the day, if we cannot make the basic play, if we cannot make a tackle in that situation, what can we do, right? And, want to see new linebackers rotate in? I'll tell you what, I'm a big proponent of how bad can it get? And if I'm going to lose with the young guys. And the reality is, even though we're winning football games, some of the stuff that I've seen is losing football. It's objectively losing football. And if I'm going to play losing football defensively, same deal. Put in the young guys so that at least they get to grow and we could project some growth out of that doing it wrong, as opposed to a guy that, like, this is your last year eligibility and we still don't know how to make a tackle. We still don't know how to make an A or fill an A gap. We still don't know how to scrape over the top and avoid the jump. Okay, well, we might have to try something new.
What's super interesting is, as it currently stands right now, Caden Fordham and Sean Brown are 2 of the top 3 leading tacklers in the entire ACC conference. However, I believe that's the case because we've had so many drives extended against us. The defense has had to stay on the field for longer periods of time, and ipso facto, that results in more tackles from your linebacking core. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing that they're leading the conference in tackles because, quite frankly, they should be, but the linebacker play, I've been extremely underwhelmed to this point. And it has only been 2 games, but it hasn't looked that great in just 2 games. And that includes both Caden Fordham and Sean. It just feels like there's been so many times they floated a little bit too far from their assignment, or they're hitting the wrong hole, or maybe they are in the hole and they still can't make the tackle. There's no reason that Virginia runs for however many yards. I think it was like 236 yards against us. That's preposterous. Jamari Taylor went for 3 touchdowns, now leads the ACC in rushing touchdowns because we couldn't stop the guy. That's embarrassing. I need the NC State linebacking core to take it personal this week and really show us something. Put something on film and take it to Damon Claiborne. Second one here comes from Bradley P. He says, to me, the unmentioned stat of the UVA game is just 1 penalty. 1. 2 new coordinators and how many new players, and we had 1 penalty in the second game of the season. If we had 9 for 115 yards, everyone would have been blaming the coaches because penalties are considered a coaching issue. Yes, that is true, and I think that is something that easily gets overlooked. NC State did only commit just 1 penalty against UVA, and not that they committed a ton of penalties against ECU, but those lapses of judgment or lapses of execution, it can seriously kill you, especially when you're in 2 tight ball games. Like when you're in 1-score games, sometimes all it takes is a defensive pass interference or a holding or a face mask, and that can completely throw everything off for you. So to see an increased amount of discipline for NC State in week 2, that was something very nice to see. I want to see that same level or possibly even better because, again, Wake Forest put a gigantic dent in your season last year. We got something for them this time around. So I want to see the mental focus and execution for NC State in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. This is absolutely right, Bradley P. The fact that this was not a heavily penalized team in the last game, absolutely. We did a fantastic job there. That is something that you have to applaud. And this is why I said, this is why the combination of stats like this and the Locked On Look of the Week and the way that Coach Roper literally called the exact scheme that I said, hey, if I were coaching right now, I would call this. And the fact that it was open, we just didn't have half a second more to hit it. You can't blame the coaching for a lot of things that are happening. You can blame the coaching for like, hey, your recruiting is the reason that we have some of the things we have going on in terms of lack of ability in certain areas or guys, lack of depth in certain areas. You can blame that. But in terms of what these coordinators are putting down, I'm not going to lie to you and say I'm disappointed or disheartened with either one of these guys.
The last one comes from Ace and Spades. It says, what Kenton was hitting on is facts. We've never had an offense as talented as this one before. Dave's way of coaching won him a lot of games in the past when he had great defenses, but the big question was going to be if he would finally adjust his coaching style for the personnel he has. I think it took a year too long, but it's very encouraging that Dave coached the way that he did on Saturday. Kenton, do you think that Coach Dorn is actually more adaptable to winning shootouts this year?
Hey, listen, the old dog is learning new tricks, okay? When he went for it on fourth in his own possession late last game, I said, no more conservative, which I didn't even know was a nickname he had until I saw that meme. That was a great one. That was a great one. But, no more conservative, no more, hey, we're going to play it with conventional wisdom. We're going to play it nice and slow here. Coach Dorn is showing a propensity to say, you know what? We're going to have to win by scoring. We're going to have to win by scoring a lot of points. We're going to have to win some shootouts, and he's showing the propensity to do what needs to be done in that type of game. It won't always pay off, and I need people to understand that. Yes. Those gambles are called a gamble for a reason. There's a reason that they call it gambling instead of guaranteed winnings, because sometimes you put it all on a certain number and it goes somewhere else, right? You think that hitting is a good idea, and then you bust. It's a possibility, but Dave Dorn has shown an old dog can, in fact, learn new tricks as he has gotten a lot more aggressive with his play calling, or with letting his play callers do their thing and pushing it down the field, or going for it on certain situations like we saw last game.
And like we talked about all offseason, it just really feels like you have no choice here. You have to. With the defensive personnel and the question marks there, for the most part, you know what you have on offense, and you have to use it to the maximum potential every single game. I do believe you have the offense to score 30 to 35 plus nearly every single game. You have to coach like you're going to try and put 35 on the board every single game. Just going back again to the 4th and 1 call on our own 28-yard line, putting a true freshman in the game and the Wildcat formation to try and extend that drive and getting it done. That was very encouraging to see, because I do think Dave Dorn of years past, you probably just punt and hope that your defense can close them out from there. So there was a small bit of evolution. Obviously the offense has been clicking a little bit better than it has in years recent as well. Kurt Roper was in his bag on Saturday. You just hope that the evolution will continue. So that is something to keep an eye on Thursday night, because you remember last year we actually lost that game because, we got too conservative. I want to see this NC State offense come out hot, stay hot, and then maintain that level of heat for the entire game. Do not let up. Do not back down. Do not let them say uncle. I want to see NC State put this thing away and then keep punching until the final whistle. They have the personnel to do it. They have the quarterback to do it. They have the skill talent to do it. Go out and exert your will against a team that is in a rebuilding year. That will do it for us here on Wednesday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to drop your comments in the comment box. Mash that subscribe button if you have not already. Tomorrow we have Kenton's Keys, as it is game day. It's 7:30 kickoff out in Winston-Salem. So until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.